The key to getting good at golf is understanding why you hit bad shots. Hi guys, my name's James and welcome to Get Good at Golf. In today's video, that's exactly what we are going to do. And we're going to talk about ball position because this is something which in lessons and when we play in Pro-Ams, I see so often, and people don't really understand how it can have such a major effect on your ball flight, on your strike, and on your scores. So I'll start with the shorter clubs. We're going to work all the way through the bag. I'm going to talk about if the ball is too far back in the stance. So guys, get in the comments below, what ball flight do you like to see? And what characteristics of a ball flight do you understand that you try to see? Do you like a high trajectory, a low trajectory, a draw, a fade? What kind of strike do you usually get? So we all know that with a wedge, I want that ball position around in the middle of the stance. That's going to allow me to get a nice descending blow on the ball. I'm going to present some nice dynamic loft, and generally I'm going to have more success than not. We all know that a wedge is a fairly easy club to hit because it's a shorter shaft and because I've got plenty of loft on there. If that ball moves too far back, you'll see that I hit a nice shallow divot with that first shot because the ball position was correct. If that ball position moves too far back, this is going to affect a number of factors with the wedge, and this is the most frustrating area to miss because you've nailed your drive, you've hit it down the fairway and you want to capitalise and make birdie. So the ball position here is too far back, and you can see there I've got a much steeper divot. The ball actually didn't go where I wanted it to either because that ball position was too far back. So it means that I'm gonna attack the ball more from the inside. Now I get away with that with a wedge a little bit because what I said earlier, there's more loft on here so it doesn't affect it too much. As soon as we move up into an iron, this becomes a lot more prominent. If Chris moves behind me now, I'm going to show you a couple of ball flights. You can see if that ball again moves too far back in the stance. We all know that with an 8-iron, again, I'm going to have it fairly middle of the stance because again, I'm going to have a nice descending blow and I want to see a nice little draw, which is like what I'm hitting there. As soon as that ball gets in the air, you'll see the differences in those two divots. A nice shallow angle of attack here with the 8-iron as opposed to when the ball moved back with the wedge. And you can also see on the club head that I really do need to clean how far the club did interact with the turf. So that ball moves too far back, all of a sudden it's opening up a much wider array of misses because there's less loft on this club. It's still an 8-iron, but you'll see there's a lot less loft on here than there was on the wedge. So that's going to open up a lot of shots that can go right, can go left. You could have a two-way miss here, which really isn't ingenuitive to good golf. Ingenuitive was the wrong word there, Chris, wasn't it? Intuitive is what I meant. So this ball position is now on my back right foot. There's a number of shots I can hit here. So the first one is a bad strike. I'm not going to take another crater out of the floor here. You've seen that already with the wedge, but I can try and make a good swing here and just hit a big block. So I've struck that fairly well. I've deviated my body to make sure I get the strike. That's what a lot of you good ball strikers will do, but it's gone right. If I hit another shot here with that same ball position, you see how inconsistent this can be because that now is hooking to the left. It's also come out a lot lower because the angle of attack is steeper, but that's because the club is being delivered more from the inside, so it depends totally on what happens to that club face to impact where the ball goes. It's definitely either going to go right or hook left because the chances of hitting a straight shot there are very, very, very low. Now what about big dog? Because we all know ball position plays a huge part with driver, but so many people don't really know how. I want to hit good drives, I want to hit long drives, I want to make sure that that ball position is nice and forward. Chris is going to talk you through what happens if it's too far forward in just a second, but if I move back here and back and back, I've seen people with this ball position with driver, and I've also seen many crowns of golf clubs absolutely ruined because of that. This is going to make me attack the ball way too steep, it's going to make me attack the ball with no control of the club face, and one of the shots that we see often is this one.
That was a great demonstration.
It was, wasn't it? So I've actually taken a divot there with my driver. I was slightly worried about that, but I was doing it for the good of the channel. That isn't the dream with driver at all. I want to make sure that ball position is forward of centre so that I can have... Notice how that divot's going left as well, Chris?
Yeah.
That's what people get, isn't it? I want to make sure the ball position's forward so that I can have a nice shallow angle of attack. I can get a low spin and I can hit drives like that. So that's what happens, guys, if the ball moves back in your stance with a wedge, with an iron and with a driver. Now let's take a look at the opposite, because this can be just as detrimental to helping you get good at golf.
So guys, the opposite of what we need to talk about now is the ball position too far forwards. James has just discussed, obviously, the ball position being too far back. It's going to encourage the ball to come out low, and we saw the array of shots, which was well done from James. Thank you. And now we need to show you what we're going to get from the ball position being too far forward. So I see this from a lot of slicers. People start to say, right, I need to tee it up high, I need to get it forward. This is not just with the driver, but it's also with your irons. The club is working past its low point. So we're past the low point here. That club is actually working left, so it's opening up, again, both sides of the golf course. I could close that face down, I could hit a pull, I could hit a pull hook, I could hit it 50, 60 yards left. The opposite, I could leave that face wide open, I'm going to hit a big slice. We could also maybe hit a fade, but it's very inconsistent. I don't see many players be able to control that. From here now, that's way outside my front foot, and I'm going to see, right, that time, very heely, that has hit a bit of a pull, so that's gone straight left. That's nowhere near where we want it to be. Next shot I could hit, again, like I say, guys, I could leave that face wide open, and that's what I see from a lot of people. Once they've seen one go left, they'll go, right, what I'll do is I'll leave the face wide open, I'll hold it off, I'll get my hands forwards, I'll drive that, and what we'll see is that big fade going to the right. And when we say, obviously, big fade, what are we doing? We're going to be losing a lot of distance. So we often see that it launches too high from those kind of shots, and we're losing a lot of control on our distance and the ability to hit it close. The same as if I grab an iron now, so mid-iron, I've got an 8 iron here, we start to see the same thing. We're starting to get a glancing blow. We're having to then adjust, and we see from a lot of golfers what they will do if they're hitting a glancing blow, they'll start to lean on the shot. They'll start to get ahead. We then start to see that, oh right, I can now hit the dreaded word we will not say on the channel.
Shank.
Shank. The one out to the right, and that's because the ball position is forward. We've then length on it.
Oh, good job I moved.
And it's gone straight out to the right. And you think, well, what have I done wrong there? I'm transferring my weight, I'm getting ahead. Ball position is way too far forward. Exactly the same with James. If we do that with an iron, we might get with it, well, with a wedge even, we might get away with it a little bit more. It uses the bounce, we might get contact, but it's going to send it very high, and your distance control is going to be very poor. Again, from here, if that ball position is forwards, we'll get the people that hang back very low on the face, and that is straight left. So we're opening up both sides of the golf course here, and we need to understand why. So start to relate it back to your ball flight. What kind of shots are you hitting? What does that mean with your ball position? Because you're going to be able to start to work that out. If we're hitting a lot of pulls, if we're hitting pull hooks, and if we're hitting slicers, we can think, right, I'm missing it left. I need to maybe bring that ball position a little bit back. If I bring that back, now we're going to get that starting on line. And we can be a lot more solid with this strike. If you're losing a lot of golf balls out to the right that are starting right, your ball position could be back. So go to your driving range, nice and easy, take your setup, have a club in the middle of your stance, and start to see where your ball position is. If I've got a mid-iron, that ball position wants to be in the centre of your stance. If I've got that driver, James just fell over a club again. If I've got the driver, I want to see that it's on the left side of, well, the inside of my left heel. That means it's not too far forwards, it's not too far back, and that's going to help you get good at golf. Guys, hopefully you've enjoyed that, and we'll see you again at the same time tomorrow.